Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Engage A podcast. I am Josh with my co-host Mike. Today we are recapping all of the games that happened on Thursday up till Sunday Night Football in the NFL of Week 12. We'll start with Thursday Night Football here. Steelers going into Cleveland in snowy conditions lose to Jameis Winston and the Browns 24-19. This was a classic game with so much snow. Steve, I couldn't imagine missing this game, especially if I was a fan of one of the
Dude,
teams.
me neither, man.
Um,
Horrible.
Steelers offense was dead for most of this game until late. Most of the game, the Steelers would move the ball a little bit and then either miss a field goal or turn it over on downs or turn the ball over. That was basically the Steelers offense for most of this game. Steelers desperately needed a better rushing game in these conditions, but just couldn't get it going. None of their backs were able to get anything serious going. Jalen Warren, 11 for 45, Najee, 16 for 41. Both of them were not great in this one. The only real rushing attack they had at times was Justin Fields in his few snaps that he came in. He did a decent job rushing. Russ still finishes with a solid game though, 21 for 28, 270 and a touchdown. Steelers offense did or defense did a great job of forcing turnovers in this one. They turned them over three times, but the offense just could not convert. You got to give credit though to Jameis Winston, the Browns offense made some really key touchdown drives after they would turn the ball over to the Steelers. The next time they got it, they would drive down and get a touchdown, which is a thing that you don't really expect from not a good team, a team with two wins. But they're 2-8, and they were still fighting. This was a big game for them. This is one the Steelers had to have, but they have a good enough record still at 8-3 to be okay. But they do have the hardest strength of schedule remaining, so they got a hard road ahead of them. But they still have 8 wins, so they're going to be in a solid spot.
They're going to be in a solid spot. Just a disappointing loss. You look at all three of the Steelers' losses so far this season. We see it here to the Browns. They have a loss to the Colts and then a loss to the Cowboys on the season. Those are three teams that, if you're a Steelers fan and just a Steelers player in general, you wanted to win those games. Those are three winnable games. You could be sitting at 11-0 with those, and you look at their schedule in the future, and it is very, very hard. A lot of divisional games. It's going to be hard going forward, but this Browns team is just a team that has the Steelers number. The AFC North is a strange division where they have these little quirks. The Steelers always beat the Ravens. The Browns always beat the Steelers. It's just a strange division. Fun game to watch in the snow. It was just kind of cold early, and then you come out of halftime. It's still pretty clear out. Then all of a sudden, there's just snow everywhere. Jameis Winston made some plays in the snow that were great. He only got sacked one time in this game. The Steelers' pass rush wasn't great. Didn't really get the job done. Nick Chubb has a solid game. Doesn't really get the yards, but he does get two touchdowns. Nice to see him find the end zone twice after all he's been through. Jerry Jeudy continues to be Jameis Winston's favorite target. Ever since Jameis has came in, Judy's been kind of on fire. He gets 6 catches for 85 yards, caught all six of his targets in this game. And the Steelers just, you wanted to win this game. Russell Wilson doesn't have his best game, but the conditions really weren't there. And like you said, just no run game for the Steelers. They have to have that run game if they really want to be super successful. Quiet game from Pickens, and we see him again after the game get into a little bit of a fight. And just not great sportsmanship. But going ahead, the Steelers team has the Eagles, Ravens, or Bengals first, then the Browns again, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. That's a rough stretch going forward. They should be able to get at least 2 wins, which would pretty much automatically put them in the playoffs at this point. But that division is going to be kind of hard to mop up. That Ravens game is going to be huge if they can get that 2 wins over the Ravens. But nice one for the Browns, although it does hurt their draft stock. But just a fun game to watch Jameis go out there and make plays.
I think they go 3-3 at worst in that stretch. I don't think they're going to go any worse than 3 and
I
3.
think I think at worst they go 2-4.
You think they could really lose a Bengals game and then the Eagles, Chiefs, and Ravens? I think they lose the Chiefs and Ravens, but I think they beat Philly. I
I
think
mean,
they,
I think they can beat Philly. I think the Bengals, they got two of them against them. I think they split those. This
yeah.
Bengals team's kind of playing with their back against the wall.
But one's late, right?
Yeah, one is the last game of the season.
I
So
think
I
they're
mean,
going to
that could
win.
be,
They're going to win that one, I think, in Pittsburgh. Next week is interesting, though.
yeah, at Cincinnati.
Yeah. Cincinnati off a bye. And, or no, is Cincinnati off a bye?
Yes, they're off a bye. They
They
had a
are,
bye
they
this
had a
week.
bye this week? Okay, yeah. So they're off a bye. Steelers get a mini bye. So that'll be an interesting
That
game.
it's just that 3 game stretch of Kansas City. Baltimore and the Eagles. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I think they got to get at least one of those. I think they'll get at least one. But we can move on now here to the Lions beating the Colts 24-6. Lions O-line didn't play well in this one. They had a ton of injuries that are looks like they're gonna all be okay. Hopefully, Carlton Davis can play next week. That's the biggest one because Terron Arnold was already out this week. If the Lions are down Davis and Arnold, and they got to run out Vildor as cornerback one and Khalil Dorsey as cornerback two against the Bears on Thanksgiving. I know it's the Bears, but God, that would be horrible. So hopefully they're good. The O-line struggled in this game. It's kind of why the offense wasn't as good as it should have been, but everything else was fine offensively. Defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in 2 weeks now, and they haven't allowed a second half point in the last 3 games. So they've been just absolutely stellar. Aaron Glenn has this unit buzzing. They've had a ton of injuries defensively before this game and during this game, and they continue week in and week out to show up and show out. DJ Reader, Zadarius Smith, Ali McNeil were just all over Anthony Richardson all game, especially Ali McNeil. He was just torching the interior offensive linemen of the Colts. They kept single teaming him, and it was just bad news for that. He's just been so good this year for the Lions. Lions did a great job of stopping Jonathan Taylor in this game too, under 3 yards per carry. But Richardson had a pretty solid day on the ground, so they didn't absolutely stuff their run game. Richardson had a few big runs. He had a horrible completion percentage, but his O line and his tight ends really let him down in this game. I wouldn't say he was great, but he's not nearly as bad as the what is the numbers 11 for 28 looks on paper. The tight ends couple drops in that one, and like I said, the defensive line of the Lions was just all over him the entire game. Both offenses had 0 turnovers, but the defenses were able to force punts and field goals the entire game. The Colts, I believe, were 0 for 2 in the red zone, I think. I believe they were 0 for 2 in the red zone, 2 field goals with those 2 trips. But for the Lions offensively, outside of the offensive line play, I'd say the Lions offense played pretty well. They ran the ball well. Goff was pretty accurate outside of that one throw to Laporta that he missed on a wide open corner route. Wide receivers were getting open for Goff. They just didn't always have the time for him to get them the ball. And out that fourth down stop really just screwed this team from being able to get to 30 points. They probably are in that 30-point range if they get that, but they get completely stuffed on a Dave Montgomery run on that fourth down, which is something you really don't see much from the Lions. They're pretty good at converting fourth downs, especially fourth and short, but that kind of screwed themselves late. Colts, though, easiest strength of schedule remaining now. They have that Broncos game where that's going to be big for the tiebreaker, and they got to run the table to win it out. They have, similar to the Bucks, they have a chance.
Yeah, they do. Just a disappointing game from the Colts, kind of all around offensively. If you're stat box watcher, we saw Michael Strahan in the Fox booth look like stat box watchers at halftime, saying he looked completely inaccurate, which just wasn't the case. Had a touchdown drop by Andrew Ogletree, just put it right in his hands. He was unable to catch it. That was unfortunate. They could only get a field goal on that possession, and just under pressure all game. Dalton Tucker, right guard, he had to come in for Will Fries. He had a season-ending injury, and just this was his worst game by far. He's been manageable so far throughout the season, but these last 2 weeks he struggled, and especially this week, he was not good at all. They kept putting Aleem McNeil on him, and Aleem McNeil was dominating him the entire game. 3 rookie offensive linemen wasn't great. If you look at the stat box, it says Anthony Richardson got sacked 0 times, but if you're watching the game, he was under pressure all the time, had to make just a bunch of throwaways. And that 11 for 28 completion percentage is going to happen. If he would have just taken the sacks instead, maybe he's sitting at like 11 for 22, but he throws it away, saves the yards.
He's
And
the inverse Caleb Williams.
yeah, inverse Caleb Williams doesn't get sacked at all in this game. Does get 61 yards on the ground, especially in that first possession. The Colts moved the ball very well. He used his legs a lot, got him down the field, and then they get in the red zone and they hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, where that offensive line was getting dominated all game. Didn't really give Anthony Richardson a chance with his legs to make a play, and that kind of killed him on that first possession. But for the Colts offense, it was just penalties. They'd make big plays, and penalties would kill them. We saw the illegal pick, which I do not believe was an illegal pick. That was a bad call and kind of swayed a little bit of the momentum. But other than that, I mean, just a bunch of holding penalties. We saw they had gains of 21, 19, 7, 30, and 20, all negated by penalties. So 97 total yards. Just can't have that. Very disappointing. And you said it, the tight end room for the Colts was atrocious as well. For the Lions, they didn't have to do too much in this game. Their defense shut the Colts down with those penalties whenever they would get those long first and 20s. They didn't let them get first downs on them. Offensively, they just played mistake free. They had one fumble where Latu made a play, but the Lions were able to jump on it. We saw them get a couple injuries on offense. It does look like David Montgomery will be okay. They just kind of rested him in his shoulder, so that's big for them. Defensively, like I said, Billy McNeil is huge. They shut down Jonathan Taylor. They didn't get penalized most of this game, so that's great for the Lions, and they got the job done.
Hey, moving on here. Oh, by the way, I was just thinking about Thanksgiving with the Lions playing on Thanksgiving. There's five standalone games next week, and four of them are just bad games. I think the Lions and Bears will end up being semi-close because it's a divisional game on Thanksgiving, and the Lions like to play games. But I mean, Cowboys Giants brutal. The Black Friday game, Chiefs Raiders, that'll be brutal. Even though the Chiefs will play it close probably and then win at the end. And then I forget what Monday night is, but Monday night's bad too. Like it's a bad stretch of games.
It looks yeah. Next Monday is Browns at Broncos.
Browns and Broncos, yeah. So
Yeah,
I got
Niners Bills Sunday night. Hopefully Purdy's able to go.
yeah, that'll be. Oh, I didn't even count Sunday night. So there's six standalone games. So there's two good ones then, being the Packers Dolphins, which I'm very excited for. Actually, that'll be a great game. I think.
Couple of good games on Sunday though. We got Eagles Eagles Ravens. It's a
Eagles
good game.
Ravens, really. Yeah, Ravens are gonna stomp that. Are they at
And
home?
then um
Baltimore's at
Ravens
home.
are at home, yes.
Love that. Love that.
And then
But
yeah, obviously we talked about it, Steelers Bengals big game.
yeah, definitely. But we could talk about the Chiefs here with them beating the Panthers narrowly, 30-27. They have 8 wins by I think it's less than 7 points total, which is just absurd. They're like the Vikings from a couple of years ago, except for they've won back-to-back Super Bowls, so you can't really doubt them like you doubt the Vikings. LeBron is in attendance at the game, by the way, the King. But Panthers made it very interesting in this game, but came up just short. Mahomes, very good game, one of his best games of the year. They were passing all over this bad secondary. He goes for 269 and three touchdowns. Chiefs were just unable to run the ball at all. It really hurt their ability to play at their own pace. The Chiefs, even though they look like this team on paper is going to pass all over you, they have the best quarterback in the league. They need to run their offense through whoever their running back is and be able to control the pace of their game and then open it up when they have to. Very similar to the Lions. And when they didn't have a run game here, we saw them be able to pass all over the Panthers, but they weren't always able to move the ball as much as they wanted to. Of course, Carolina could not run it well against this front. Nobody does. But the offense was moving really well. Bryce Young, another one of his best games of his career, 263 and a touchdown. Ever since he came back in from being benched, he's been a lot better. The Panthers haven't won every game, but he's been a lot better. That's super encouraging to see if you're a Panthers fan. Panthers defense locked in toward the end of the game. They really gave themselves a chance to win this game, but 2 minutes for Mahomes to get a field goal is against this Carolina secondary is basically a guaranteed win. Like when you saw Bryce Young and the Panthers score, it was like, oh, this is sick. They're tied now. But it's like there was no way the Panthers were going to win that game at that point. Great for Carolina though. They improve their pick and they get to see good stuff from Bryce Young. And the Chiefs, they get another win, but they continue to show those holes that they have in their game.
Yeah, I haven't seen Panthers fans this happy uh, in a long time on Twitter. They were ecstatic. Bryce Young played very good in this game, one of the best games he's had. Threw for 263 yards, touchdown, made some big throws, led him on that game tying drive late, got a couple pass interferences, got the 2 point conversions. He was great. Chuba Hubbard continues to be very, very good for this Panthers team. He got that touchdown late. We saw Jonathan Brooks make his debut of his NFL career. Only got 2 touches for 7 yards. Hopefully, he'll continue to get more throughout the season. But Bryce Young, he was great in this game. They said he'll be the starter for the rest of the season, which I don't even know why that was even asked. That should
Yeah.
just be assumed at this point. He was great in this game. The Chiefs played him close. They do this with every team somehow. We thought maybe they would go out after a loss and dominate a team, but that just was not the case. I think it was an 11-point spread. Was in danger, but really, not really. They don't cover that again. Another game-winning field goal. They played 11 games. I'd say about 7 or 8 of their games have come down to the last play of the game. This being another one of that. But you said Mahomes had his best game. Kareem Hunt was the main running back for him. We didn't see any Isaiah Pacheco in this game, although he was activated. And the tight ends made a big impact, both from Kelsey and Gray for the Chiefs in the passing game. But Chiefs get the win, so that's really what they need. They keep that first place in the AFC, and they just need to I feel like they just have to be more dominant, but it's the Chiefs. I know they're just going to find ways to get done. And with the schedule they got going forward, they don't have it too hard. Their last three games are rough. They still got the Chargers too, but I guess the Raiders always play them close, so we'll see how that goes next week.
I didn't think Pacheco was active for this game. I thought he was inactive.
No, he wasn't active. That's what I mean.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
he was activated off
Off
IR.
IR, but inactive for the game, right? Yeah, he'll probably be back next week, I'd assume.
Yeah.
I know they don't have the bye, so but well, yeah, nobody does. But next game here, Bucks coming off a bye, got to run the table damn near. They go and they rip the Giants apart, 30-7.
Great
Baker and the
start.
Bucks come out. Danny DeVito, nothing. I'm just gonna start intentionally saying it at this point. Bucks scored the first 30 points of this game. Evans comes back and immediately leads them in receiving in his first game back. The medical team was on top of it for this injury. They said he was going to come back right after the bye, and we saw that. There was really no question whether he was going to do that or not, and he comes out and he dominates. Bucks had 11 different pass catchers in this game, which is just super impressive. I know they were playing against DeVito, but this Bucks secondary has really struggled, and it was great to see them just dominate in this game. Bucks pass rush continues to be a problem for their defense, but it's just I don't know how you don't get any sacks against the New York Giants right now. They're just a team that's going to give up a ton of sacks, and the Bucks were just not able to get a single one. So that part was a little discouraging, but their offense was so good and their defense was great in the secondary and the run game for this one that's really hard to pick them apart. But that's one thing I would say against them. But like we said, the Bucks have an opportunity to run the table here. We said they're sneaky, able to catch the Falcons if they can beat them in total record because they don't have the tiebreaker. And the Bucks go and they win their first easy game, and now they have the third ranked remaining strength of schedule.
Yeah, they went out and dominated this game right from the jump. Just a great game by Baker Mayfield, 24 for 30, 294 yards. Gets a nice rushing touchdown and does the tribute to Tommy DeVito. He called it a tribute to Tommy DeVito.
Mm.
Maybe talking a little bit of trash. Bucky Irving was great in this game. He was just had a couple huge plays, 87 yards rushing and a touchdown. Really kind of him and Rashad White split carries, but he looked a lot better. He had six catches in the passing game as well for 64 yards. He's really emerged as just a weapon for this Buccaneers offense. Losing Chris Godwin was killer, but he's been good. Kate Otten doesn't have a big game in this one, but I mean, the Buccaneers were ahead by so much. They didn't really have to do much. Like you said, Mike Evans was great. For the Giants, with all the reports we saw coming out of the week after benching Daniel Jones, and I guess we haven't mentioned that they cut Daniel Jones as well. He's, I think, eligible to sign with the team as soon as Monday. And I guess there's going to be a decent amount of teams that are going to want him on maybe a 1 year deal.
He wants to go to a
I,
contender, apparently.
yeah, I would love for him to go to the Cowboys as a contender and go and play him here on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
That'd be
that would be
hilarious.
crazy. There's
That
no way
would
that would
be
happen, though.
hilarious. But it kind of just seems to me like this Giants locker room has kind of given up. They have really nothing to play for, nobody to rally around in this team. They said that Darius Slayton had to be like restrained after they cut Daniel Jones. Said he was so upset. That's his like best friend, and just this looks like it's the end of um, maybe Brian Dable's coaching career in New York. Although I think he's a solid coach. It's just some of the decisions that this team and organization have made don't make it easy to coach, and just a really disappointing season for New York. And they don't have much going for him. Tyrone Tracy, he had a bad game as well in this one. Malik Neighbors was also in the locker room talking like a wide receiver one post game, saying they're only going to start targeting him when they're up by 30. So just nothing going right for the Giants right now. And except for maybe the fact that the only thing that's going right is that they keep losing and getting more and more likely that they'll get the top pick and maybe Shooter Sanders. So
Yeah, I
Buccaneers
mean,
start this stretch great.
who were they restraining Darius Slayton from? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I would like to know as well because
Like, who was he trying? Who did he think was the? There's no way he was going after Dable.
yeah,
Was
it
he
couldn't
at
have
the
been
GM?
Dable. Yeah, Joe Schoen or whatever.
That would be hilarious. But, um, yeah. What are you gonna do? He was horrible. But
I mean, yeah.
yeah, moving on here to the Dolphins game, beating the Patriots 34-15, similar to the Bucks game. Dolphins scored the first 31 points of this game. It was a complete blowout. We had a couple really good games this week, but a couple games that were just over early. Pat struggled to move the ball all game long, but I don't really blame Drake May at all. He has no good receivers. His offensive line is mid at best. They're one of the worst in the league. No run game with Ramondre. And going into today's game, he was ranked third in the NFL in percentage of passes on target. 80.7% of his passes were on target. So he's having a very good season, even with the horrible help he has around him. Dolphins continue to be a team that's fighting for that seventh AFC playoff spot. Tua, he's had a really good season when he's been healthy. He had 314, four touchdowns, no picks in this game. Miami had zero run game for being up by so much. You would assume that they would just run the clock out and be able to get their back some touches, but they were just not able to move the ball at all on the ground. Miami, though, up to three straight wins now. They were 2-6 not too long ago. They're up to 5-6 now, and they have the fifth easiest strength of schedule remaining. So I think they're definitely in play for the playoffs. They still get to play. They still get to play the Browns. They get to play the Jets twice, who have basically given up. And their hard games are Green Bay, Houston, and San Francisco. So those are three games they could absolutely win. Now they get to go Thanksgiving on a short week, play the Packers, and see what they could do. I think they could definitely compete in that game.
Yeah, the Dolphins are winning the games that they have to win. They're staying in this AFC playoff picture. It's kind of a little bit of a four-team race at this point between the Broncos, Dolphins, Colts, and Bengals for the last spot. Colts do have the tiebreaker on the Dolphins already, and we know that the Colts play the Broncos as well. So I don't know how that all stacks out, but this is a great start for the Dolphins. I think this team can contend for the playoffs still. I think they are very, very good. They're a weapon. Tua Tagovailoa knows how to beat the Patriots. He is now 7-0 versus New England. Kind of just a shocking number after the decades of dominance from New England. Dolphins dominated this game. Their defense played great, shut down Drake May and the Patriots offense. He had one of the worst games of his career so far. Tonga Vailoa has a great game, throws for 300 plus yards, four touchdowns, and no picks. They didn't really run the ball because they didn't have to. They were dominating through the air. Jalen Waddle finally has a big game. He hasn't really broken out so far this season at all, but we finally see that. He has 144 yards and a touchdown. Tonga Vailoa, since returning from the concussion, has 11 touchdowns and only one interception. And in terms of completion percentage, he leads the league with 73.4. He's been huge. And this offense as a whole, I said it when they returned that it's just he just runs the offense better than anyone else can. And he's looked great. Jonnu Smith has been a good weapon for this team as well. It's a dangerous team. They've swept the Patriots for the first in back-to-back years for the first time since 1999 and 2000. And right now, this is not the Patriots from the last 2 decades that we've seen. Gerard Mayo hasn't been doing a great job, I feel like, of rallying the locker room. People in Boston have begun to call for his job. He said in the post-game interview that the coaches have no control of what the players do once they cross the white lines. While I kind of understand where he's coming from, I don't think that's the right thing to say. You still have to, I mean, you call the play, so I guess you do have control of what goes on beyond the white lines. So just a weird locker room presence from him and the Patriots right now. And the Dolphins they're fine for that last playoff spot.
Off topic, but I just saw the line here. Guess the line for Lions Bears Thanksgiving.
11?
Yeah, I mean 10.5. That's crazy, but I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, it's a big number.
I thought it would be significantly less than that. I thought we were getting like 5.5, 6. The Bears have been competing. That's
Yeah, it doesn't shock me with how well the Lions have been playing though.
yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe they still got to find out about injuries and stuff. But um, speaking of the Bears, moving on here to the Vikings beating the Bears 30-27 for the second straight week. Bears go out, lose to a division rival late. Bears were getting whooped for a majority of this game, but they responded with a late 17-3 run that included a recovered onside kick that got them to overtime. Caleb has not been able to win these games late. I mean, against Green Bay, Washington, and this one. But outside of this overtime drive where he wasn't able to move the ball, he's been pretty good in the fourth quarter this year. I mean, he put them in a position to win that Washington game. He put them in position to win the Green Bay game. Of course, this game as well. But that's something that Justin Fields was not able to do over the past few years for the Bears. He was just a known choke artist in the fourth quarter, but Caleb Williams comes in, and although he's had his struggles at times on that accuracy chart that I was talking about of percentage of passes on target, I believe Caleb Williams was second or third to last on the season, but in the fourth quarter, he's been really good. This game, he finished 32 for 47, two touchdowns, no picks. It's a great game for him. Bears fans are really, even though they're losing, Caleb's starting to play a little bit better. They're really starting to milk this better than Jaden Daniels talk because Daniels been tough over the past few weeks. But back to the Bears, their run game non-existent, really hard to predict with this group. But they're pretty bad overall. Sometimes they go out there and they have good running games, but for the most part, they've been pretty bad. Vikings offense was moving pretty well throughout the game. Both Aaron Jones and Addison had huge days. Addison probably had the best day of his career. Bears shut down Justin Jefferson, but almost literally everybody else was open, whether it was Hawkinson, Jones, Addison, everybody was open for this Vikings team. I still think the Vikings are frauds, but their offense moving well in this game was definitely encouraging for them as a team. Their defense did not play to their level that they usually expect this game, but Bears, they're sitting at 7 losses and the hardest strength of schedule remaining at 4-7. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it's over for them.
Yeah, I believe it's over already. I think it was over a couple weeks ago with how this coaching staff has done. The Bears were, you said that they were losing the majority of this game, kind of getting blown out, but in stats wise, they were almost dominating the Vikings in terms of stats. They were able to come back late, which is huge for this Bears team. At least get a little bit of momentum. We see Caleb Williams throw for 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. That's huge for him. He looked pretty solid out there. Didn't really have a run game at all. They didn't have to run as much. They would prefer to pass the ball. They were moving the ball well through the air. DJ Moore, 7 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen had a big day. Cole Kmet had a big day. Just a huge day through the air for the Bears. But again, they lose the game late, and it looked like they were finally getting luck going their way. They recover an onside kick. They get in field goal range. They kick the field goal, take the lead. Then they win the coin toss. They have the ball and a chance to just go down and win the game. And what do? Caleb Williams' chance for a game-winning drive just chokes it right away. Second down, I think he took a huge sack that you just cannot take in that situation. And they're forced to punt, and the Vikings go right down and get in field goal range. Vikings find a way to win this game. Aaron Jones has a good game against the Bears rushing. 106 yards on the ground for him. Sam Darnold was well through the air. He had 300 plus yards as well. Did pick up a little bit of an injury. It looked scary for a minute, but he seems to be all right. He got the ball to Hawkinson, who seems to be recovering well from his ACL injury last year. He has a great game with 114 yards. And just a disappointing loss for the Bears, but at this point, you're not going to make the playoffs. You pretty much know that for a fact. You can continue to improve your draft pick, and your young quarterback has a promising game. It sounds like something that Bears fans have said for like the past 5 years, multiple times, but you just got to hope that you hire the right coach here in the offseason at this point.
Yep, and moving on here to Titans beating the Texans 32-27. I can't believe the Titans put up 32 points in this game. Titans came to play and were somehow great offensively in this one. The NFL is just so unpredictable. I raved about how good this Texans defense was in the preview, and they've been playing so well over the entire season, really, but especially the past month. And then this Titans offense that's been god awful goes out there and dominates them. Levis 18 for 24, 278, 2 touchdowns. He was great in this game. Pollard continues to have a very underrated season. He goes for 119 and a tutty. Titans defense has been great against the pass all year, but they haven't been phenomenal against the run. And they come out in this game and they completely stifled Mixon. 14 carries, 22 yards, less than 2 yards a carry. Just super impressive stuff from this Titans front. Jeffrey Simmons just is an absolute freak. Stroud up to 9 interceptions on the season now, already double what he had last season. So very interesting to see that he's starting to fall off a little bit of a sophomore slump for him, but I still think he's going to be a great quarterback in this league. I don't think there's anything to worry about if you're a Texans fan. Their offense didn't look right in this one, scored just 20 points. This offensive line is really becoming a problem for them over the entire season, but especially the last month of an and a half where this offense does not look great. They've gotten the receivers back for the most part outside of Diggs, and still their offense doesn't look right because this offensive line is so bad. Like I said, Simmons was a problem all day for this Texans team. Texans now sit at 7-5 with the Ravens and Chiefs still on their schedule. They need to win versus the Jags, the Dolphins, and the Titans. Those are 3 games coming up that they have to win. The Jags and the Titans should be gimmies, even though they did just lose to the Titans. And that Dolphins game is going to be an absolute scrap. But if the Colts can run the table and win some games here, then they could be in trouble if they don't take care of business against the teams they need to take care of business against.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the AFC South, perhaps how we've seen multiple years in a row where teams choke late in the season. But here, CJ Stroud and the Texans, they choke in this game. CJ Stroud wasn't great, threw two picks again in this game. Didn't have a rushing attack at all. Bobby Slowick really wanted to continue to run the ball, but it just was not going. The Titans stuffed him pretty much all game. Only 22 yards on the ground on 14 carries for Joe Mixon for 1.6 average. We haven't seen that all season from Joe Mixon. So just a disappointing there. And then throughout the air, like you said, the turnovers have killed him. Nico Collins, 5 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown. He gets back in the end zone. And they get a chance at the end of the game to tie it, make it 30 to 30. And Kaimi Fairbairn misses the field goal to tie it. He's been he's been a good kicker for the Texans, but this year he's missed some kicks in games that have been huge, and this was another one. The Titans defense really shut him down. Offensively for the Titans, Will Levis played good, especially early. He was great. Threw for 278 yards and two touchdowns. The one interception was really the big downfall for him in this game. It was a pick six, and you just really can't have that throw. But he was good. He was under pressure all game and still delivered. He got sacked 8 times. The Texans pass rush got to him on the ground for the Titans. That was a success for him. 119 yards on the ground. I wasn't really expecting that at all. I thought the Texans would really shut that down, but a big win for the Titans here. It hurts their draft pick, but it was nice to see what they saw from Will Levis. It looked like a little bit of improvement from him and this offense as a whole. Him and Westbrook-Akine have a pretty solid connection on the deep balls. We saw another big one from Nick Westbrook-Akine, a 38-yard touchdown, and a couple deep throws to Calvin Ridley as well. He had a 60-yard game. So the big plays were there for the Titans in this game, and they found a way to win, and just a bad loss for the Texans, especially at home.
Okay, moving on here. Two of the Cowboys beating the Commanders 34 to 26. Jaden Daniels' struggles have officially caught up to Washington, and he was not great in this game. This game was just absolute chaos. The score was 13 to 9. Dallas and Washington had the ball in the fourth quarter. Washington goes on to fumble. Cowboys score a touchdown to go up 2 scores. Then Washington scores a touchdown. Then the Cowboys get a kick return. Washington responds with a field goal. Cowboys get a three and out, punt it. Washington one play touchdown to Terry. They go for the extra point, miss the extra point, gets blocked, and then the Cowboys kick return an onside kick, and Washington gets the ball back, interception. So this was an absolute insane game. I still haven't been able to see the kick return onside. For some reason I just missed it. Was he trying to go down? Because he
No,
should have
he
went
he,
down.
he should have went down.
Yeah,
Just a boneheaded decision. I think well, it looked like I think the Commanders probably let him go once he recovered it.
yeah,
At least that'd be the smart choice to do.
yeah. That was insane. But yeah, despite the end of this crazy game, Washington did not deserve to win this football game. They turn it over 3 times. They go 4 for 12 on third down. They should not have been in a position to win this game, and they still were. Daniels threw a couple interceptions, missed a ton of throws. He has not been the same since his injury. I said in the entire draft process, my number one thing is I think he's super talented. Obviously, he won the Heisman, but the way he plays is a way that you get hurt, and it hasn't completely bit him in the ass yet because he hasn't had to miss multiple games, but he got hurt, and he hasn't been the same since. Brian Robinson also gets hurt in this game again. He's very, very valuable for this Commanders team. They're a different team when he's in there and playing full snaps. And now he comes back in his first game, doesn't get a lot of touches, and then his second game back, he gets hurt again. So that's tough for them. Commanders are falling off a little bit, 3 straight L's for them, but they have Titans by Saints the next 3 weeks. So they should be able to come out of that three week stretch 2-0 with a bye week in there, get healthy with Brian Robinson and then back, and they should be in a spot where they could still make the playoffs. But they're gonna have to win all of their games versus bad teams going forward.
Yeah, they're gonna have to a really disappointing loss here. I think they were 10-point favorites going into this game. Just couldn't have it. Jaden Daniels was not good early. The big throw to Terry McLaurin late really helped to boost his stats in this game. That was just a huge play in the game to look like the Commanders were going to find another way to somehow win the game, but they were unable to get it done late as the Cowboys they missed the extra point and the Cowboys get that touchdown. Don't know why he didn't go down. Doesn't make any sense to me on why he didn't go down, but gave the Commanders another shot. They got a Hail Mary this time. They were unable to succeed like they were against the Bears. Just a big win for the Cowboys, although it hurts their draft pick, so not great. They ran the ball better in this game than they have pretty much all season with Rico Dowdle. He has 86 yards on the ground, average 4.5 yards per carry. Cooper Rush was solid as a quarterback, threw for 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Got the ball to his top weapon, CeeDee Lamb, who had 10 catches for 67 yards, and just kind of a shocking ending. Cavante Turpin with that kick return was one of the best kick returns I've seen. The spin move was just nasty. He did the spin move when no one was really within like 5 yards of him, and somehow was able to it put him in the perfect spot, sprinted down the field. He's one of the fastest players in the NFL. So just a disappointing loss for the Commanders. They're starting to fall out of this battle now with the Eagles, who are starting to run away with the division. Um, just a loss you couldn't afford.
Okay, moving on here to the 4 o'clock slate. Broncos beat the Raiders 29 to 19. Another great game for Bo Nix, who continues to improve. 273, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and this one for him. The Broncos were unable to run the ball, despite this Raiders front not always being the best against the run. Sutton, though, through the air, monster game. Him and Bo Nix have a really, really good connection. They're starting to build a great connection over there, and hopefully they can keep those guys around long term in Denver. Gardner Minshew was pretty solid outside of his interception. Ritter came in and had a good drive late. Raiders, of course, could not run the ball, but they passed it better than I expected to, honestly, this game. Gardner Minshew was solid. Jacoby Myers, 10 catches for 121. He dominated against this really tough secondary. Broncos up to 7-5 now, and it's crazy that whenever Sean Payton's teams are struggling, he's the first person that everyone wants to blame. It's always, oh, Sean Payton, look what he's doing. The Broncos are off to a rough start. Same thing happened last year. But once they get a little bit better, like they go on that win streak last year, and then this year they've been pretty solid. You don't hear them sing his praises. So I think he's done a fantastic job with this team, especially defensively. And he's got a QB in Bo Nix who no one really believed in except for him after the draft. And he takes him really high. People call him crazy for taking him really high, us included. And they go out there and they're having a great season right now. So I wanted to be able to give him his flowers. And then the Broncos up to 7-5 now, 20th hardest strength of schedule remaining for the season. So they're poised to go fight with the Colts and the Dolphins and all those teams who are fighting for that seventh spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, huge win there. They were able to cover late with getting that sack on Desmond Ritter. Gardner Minshew was solid in this game, threw for 230 yards. Unfortunately, he does break his collarbone late in this game, and he will be out for the rest of the season. They had to go with Desmond Ritter for the rest of the game, and it sounds like AOC might be able to come back and start for this Raiders team here soon. The Raiders, again, we say it every week, they were unable to run the ball. Sincere McCormick was their leading rusher in this game with 33 yards, 6.6 yards per carry. Jacoby Myers was huge in the passing game. Their main weapon, 10 catches, 121 yards. I was expecting a big day from Brock Bowers. We didn't really see that from him. He only gets 4 catches. And just another game with the Raiders. They're also contending for this first overall pick. There's a lot of teams out there right now. They don't have too much going for them at this point. But the Broncos are fighting for a playoff spot, and they went out, won the game. They hadn't won in Las Vegas yet. I don't think they've beaten the Las Vegas Raiders yet in the time since they've moved to Vegas. They go out there and get their first win. Bo Nix looked good again. Their defense continues to look very good, like one of the best units. Didn't run the ball great in this game. Usually they need to run the ball to open up the pass game, but that didn't matter. Cortland Sutton has a big game. Devon Valley has been a solid weapon. He's a rookie for this Broncos team. The past couple weeks, he's been playing a lot more. He got 6 catches for 80 yards in this game. So Broncos, you said it, they got it, the 20th easiest remaining strength of schedule. That Colts game is going to be huge coming up. Outside of that, they got the Chargers still. That's a tough game. The Bengals and the Chiefs. So a couple tough games there. That Colts game is going to be huge. And next week they got the Browns. That's a game they should win, but this Browns team can hang in there. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, moving on here to Green Bay beating the 49ers 38 to 10. Brandon Allen and the 49ers were just really tough sledding here as Purdy was not able to suit up in this one. Christian McCaffrey just doesn't seem like himself coming back after this injury. He has a fumble late in this game, 3 yards per carry for the game. I know they weren't able to run the ball a ton anyways because they were losing, but still, when he was running, he just didn't look right. 49ers offense has been shaky all year, but Brock Purdy definitely makes a difference as we see. Brandon Allen come in here and not be able to do what Brock Purdy has been able to do at times. And I've been very critical of Brock Purdy because he has been in a perfect situation. And I wouldn't say this game says, oh, they need Brock Purdy to be good. Uh, he's the motor that drives them. But he's a lot better than Brandon Allen was in this offense. So he's at the very least a good quarterback, and they need him in there. 49ers losing their run ability over the past few weeks has just made no sense, honestly. Like, they went from a team that runs against everybody, no matter who the running back is, and these past 3, 4-ish weeks, they just haven't been able to run it as well. Green Bay's offense was solid, but they didn't need to be great. They were great and they were in great spots all day because of their defense, so their offense didn't have to do too much. Jacobs continues to have a great season. Packers going, they win the turnover battle 3-0 in this one to dominate the game. So it's a huge win for the Packers. And I mean, we're not going to talk about the Packers as much because obviously the story is the Niners going down to 5-6 now and having to not run the table, but having to dominate the rest of the season to go and make the playoffs. But the NFC North, 10-1, 9-2, 8-3 is just absurd. All those teams are going to make the playoffs, and that's going to block a team like the Niners, who sit at 5-6 with the third hardest strength of schedule remaining. A team that has to play the Lions, or actually, let me refresh because they still have the Packers on here. The fifth hardest strength of schedule remaining now. They still have to play the Lions, the Bills. They have to play the Cardinals, the Rams. Their easiest games remaining are against the Bears and the Dolphins, and those are two teams that we've seen compete with good teams. So Niners could be in some real trouble sitting at 5-6 with a really hard strength of schedule remaining.
They definitely could be in real trouble. Seahawks, I mean, their best hope is that the division continues to eat itself alive and maybe they can make the playoffs with just 9 wins, maybe even 8. I would doubt that, but this division is very, very close out in the NFC West. Brian Allen wasn't able to get it done in this game. Like you said, no run game from the Niners. Just kind of shocking. They can't really get the ball. I'm really shocked that they didn't even give Deebo Samuel a carry. He only gets one catch in this game for 21 yards. It's pretty much all CMC. Uh, I don't know really what's going on. This is one of the worst seasons we've seen from Kyle Shanahan, and especially with everything that they have had to deal with the injuries, but they still have so many weapons offensively. Packers just dominate this game. They dominated time of possessions, yards, rushing, everything, and all that. And they had a sure touchdown dropped by Christian Watson. Just dropped a surefire touchdown. He does get a carry for 4 yards. Other than that, he had nothing. Tucker Kraft gets a touchdown. This Packers team, they have just a bunch of weapons. Josh Jacobs might be the best weapon that they have. He gets 3 touchdowns, a lot of carries. They ran the ball on this 49ers defense, put up 38 points. It's just been a disappointing season from the 49ers all around. They're going to have to figure it out quickly. Otherwise, this season's going to end a lot sooner than they had planned on it. But Packers, like you said, the NFC North is just very, very, very impressive with those 3 teams.
Okay, finishing off here with the Seahawks beating the Cardinals 16-6. Super impressive game here from this really underrated Seattle defense. They completely shut down this Cardinals offense coming off of a bye. They haven't been great against the run all year, but they absolutely shut down the Cardinals rush attack, just 3 yards per carry for the Cardinals. They had no running game. That's the motor of their offense, and the Seahawks were able to completely shut that down. For the Cardinals offense, Trey McBride broke the Cardinals tight end record for receptions, went 12 catches, 133 yards for him. He's been so good this year. Seattle's offense was really nothing special all game long. They were honestly pretty bad for the majority of this game. Scored just 6 points on offense. The Seattle offensive line continues to be a problem. Gino got sacked 5 times. This is what holds back some of these teams in the West is they all have their own issues. Seahawks is definitely on their offensive line. Seattle's rushing attack was basically non-existent. A lot of that has to do with their offensive line playing so bad. All of these West teams like Seahawks, Cardinals, Niners, Rams, they're all solid, but they all have significant holes. Like Seattle can't block for shit. Sometimes their defense is good, but sometimes they give up some passing yards. The Cardinals, their defense is really good, but their offense sometimes goes cold, and if they can't run the ball, then they have nothing offensively. The Rams, their defense kind of just sucks for the most part, and they've been hurt so much, so they have to score a ton of points offensively. And the Niners are just dysfunctional for right now. Sometimes they look great on defense, sometimes they look horrible, sometimes they look great on offense, sometimes they look horrible. So none of these teams are consistent. It's really impossible to tell who's going to win it at this point. So you have value betting on any of these teams, but maybe not the Niners. But it's going to be interesting to see who rises to the top. Seattle, though, currently sits in first in that division. They have the 10th hardest strength of schedule remaining, as all these teams do playing in this division. But we'll see. Seattle has just as good of a chance as anybody to win this division.
They definitely have just as good of a chance. Really sloppy game from Kyler Murray. He was really struggled against the Seahawks defense all game. Throws a really bad interception to Kobe Bryant. He gets a pick six on the play. Leonard Williams for the Seahawks defense was great. Um, I think he had 2.5 sacks in this game. They had 5 sacks total. Just a great job by the Seahawks all around there. And they, like you said, they shut down this Cardinals run game. Trey McBride was really the only weapon for the Cardinals to really have a huge game, 12 catches, 133 yards. Marvin Harrison was quiet in this game. I think he's only had like 3 or 4 games this season with over 50 receiving yards. I've expected more from him in this rookie season, especially with this Cardinals team kind of overperforming, but uh, rough game. Cardinals averaged over 29 points per game in their previous 3 games going into this game, but they were shut down in this one. Uh, for the Seahawks, great game from their defense. They really won them the game. Geno Smith didn't have to do too much. Another game quiet on the ground, but also another big JSN game. 77 yards and a touchdown from him on 6 catches. He's really kind of emerged almost as the wide receiver one at this point for Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense, and has been huge, will be huge going forward for this Seahawks team as they try to go out and win the division. Right now, I'd probably say they're the favorite. Just really have no idea though who's going to win it.
Hey, moving on here to our studs and duds for the week. My stud, I'm going to go with Tua. He goes 29 for 40 in this game, 72.5 completion percentage, 7 or 8 yards per throw, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He was phenomenal in this game, 128.9 QBR or quarterback rating, I should say. He's been great since he came back from injury. You look at his past 5 games since coming back from injury: 97.9 QB rating, 124.9, 89.4, 127.8, 128.9. He's been really, really good since coming back from injury, and we've seen it with this Dolphins offense. We see it's night and day from Jalen Waddle when he's in the lineup versus when he's not. Tyreek Hill just kind of had a rough season overall, but this Dolphins team is very scary because they're scrappy on defense and they have Tua playing at a great, great level right now. So I want to see more people online giving Tua his flowers because he's playing phenomenal football. And when he's healthy, he's dangerous.
Yeah, he's been playing great football ever since he's come back. I'm kind of deciding between 2 guys, so I'll go with honorable mention to Jordan Addison, 8 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. One of the best games of his career. But I'm going to give my start of the week to Bucky Irving. He was huge. This Buccaneers team dominated this game, and he was a huge part of it. 87 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. In the air, he had 6 catches for 64 yards. One of the best rookie performances of the week. He was great and just the driving force for this Buccaneers offense, and he's going to continue to be a huge part of this Buccaneers offense going forward on this run where they try to go and steal the division from the Falcons. So good start from him.
Okay, and my dud of the week is the running back for the San Francisco 49ers, Christian McCaffrey. He's just been so bad since he came back from injury, but today, 2.8 yards per carry. He had 3 catches for 37, which was good, but a very uncharacteristic fumble from him. He's at 3.7 yards per carry with a fumble since he's come back in his 3 games, and he's had touches 13, 19, 11 carries. He's had 7 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets, and outside of that, little receiving game in the first one that helped him fantasy wise. He just has not been good for actual football, which is a problem for the 49ers, and we're seeing it play out. And it's unfortunate. I hope this is not the beginning of the end for Christian McCaffrey because he's so fun to watch. But he had to miss a lot of time with a knee injury this year, and it almost feels like he maybe should have just sat the season out.
Yeah, just a bad going from him. My dud of the week, Kyler Murray. I was expecting at least him to put up a solid game. Really wasn't good at all. No touchdowns. Threw that bad interception where he was just trying to make a play and he just did way too much and it led to a pick six and kind of put the game away. The Cardinals offense really didn't move the ball all game. He's been very, very, very good the past couple weeks, but here we see him take a step back and really struggle. So he is my dud of the week.
Okay, that will about do it for this episode of the Engage A podcast. We will be back on Wednesday to recap the past week in college football, get you ready for champ week in college football, as well as preview the upcoming games for week 13 of the NFL season. That's all the Thanksgiving games, Black Friday, all those games for that week. So tune in for that with no bye weeks. That will be 16 previews. But if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit all the links in our description for TikTok, social media, and all that good stuff. And we'll see everybody in the next one.